Hello, I'm Anthony Sherwood. Nerene and I have been friends for over 30 years. This chapter of Nerene's life is about perseverance and reinvention. When the universe has plans for you, much different than you ever intended for yourself. In 2007, Nerene ran for the Ontario Liberals in a provincial election. While Nerene was on the campaign trail, a local newspaper reporter was writing malicious, derogatory articles about Nerene.
When I accepted the nomination for the party, his headline was "A Virgin's Lovin'," which was objectifying and sexualizing. And he did this week after week after week. I lost that election by something like 500 votes. I sued, and I was told by the political party to let it go. Let it go. We need the media on our side. If you sue, we will never support you to run for election again. But I went ahead, and the headline that finally did them in was "Into the Briar Patch Again," and said the political party had found their favorite tar baby, and that I was only being given an opportunity to run because they didn't want to run a, quote, bland white male. It took 5 years. They eventually settled with me. I'm pleased because what happened in Hamilton, there had not been a black representative in Parliament elected since Lincoln Alexander. But the next person who ran, Matthew Green, did not have to endure what I had to endure. And so it made a change, and it's made a change moving forward. Was I angry? You bet I was angry. Was I frustrated? Was I disappointed? Did I have all of those emotions because I didn't get to win that election, and it wasn't fair, and I didn't get to be an MPP, and I could have just harbored all of that. But after the lawsuit was over, I thought, now what do you do? And I stopped and I thought, and I realized it was ignorance. A lot of it was ignorance on the part of the reporter.
In true Nerene fashion, she would turn a negative into a positive that would lead her back to the classroom to educate our youth once again.
The work I'm doing now, we work with the schools, and we go into the schools, into classrooms, and we do a 1-hour presentation.
Andrew James Brown. He was born in 1901 and grew up in Brantford. He heard the guys talking about signing up to serve in the First World War, and he thought that's what he would like to do as well. He became part of the Canadian Expeditionary Forces. His battalion was the No. 2 Construction Battalion, and they worked in the forest, cutting down trees, using the trees for planks. They would lay the planks down on the ground, and they dug trenches. And they used wood to line the sides of those trenches because they were fairly deep, so that kept the trenches from caving in. Private Andrew James Brown. His name is in the Book of Remembrance in the Peace Tower in Ottawa. He's one of 3 black Canadian teenagers who served in France, each of whom sacrificed their life for this country.
Or it might be on the first black in Canada to become a pilot.
In 1929, Jerry Bell began learning to fly. He earned both his private and his commercial pilot's rating, but there was one hitch. Jerry hadn't told his family he was even doing this. The Hamilton Spectator, which is a citywide newspaper, got wind of Jerry's story, and they wrote an article on him. They dubbed him the Brown Birdman and made note of the fact he was the first black in Canada to become a pilot.
You know, it's through these stories that students learn a couple of things. First, they have a better understanding of those who came before and made inroads for them. Second, they learn that we are all not too different from one another.
It's so interesting how many parallels there are in our history with others. Telling them a story about my great-grandfather who fled when he was 15, and one girl who came up after, and she said, I'm Palestinian. My family had to leave everything that they had behind to come here seeking a better life. So my story is very much like your story. You have no idea how important it is to tell our stories because there's such a connectedness with others out there.
Who knows? Maybe one reporter's ignorance during an election campaign led to the education of hundreds of students. And it's imperative that we keep telling our stories. There's still so much to learn about ourselves and one another. Nerene realized this. She was a devoted performer who had a great appreciation of humanity. She was compassionate. She was sensitive. She cared about people. We need more people like Nerene.